On today's episode of Watch Jericho, we are back in my disaster of a shop here. We have quite the mess going on from all the stuff we've been getting done so we could get this done. And today, hopefully, we're gonna get everything switched over from the Corvette's new engine over there. We've got to get all the old parts off of this engine that came out of the car onto that one and get ready to get this thing back in the car. What is going on, guys? I am Watch Jericho, and like I said, we've got a lot of swapping to do because the new engine needs to be ready to go into the Corvette, and there's a little ways to go before we can just throw it in there. So, first things first, I'm back from my sickness. For like 2 days there, I was just completely destroyed, and it was all because we ate a pizza buffet. That's usually fine. It's one of my favorite places, but this time it got sketchy. I feel like it made Josh sick before, something like that. But usually it's fine. I've never had an issue, and then this time it took me out of commission hard. So I'm trying to recover, and I can finally eat again today. So hopefully we're back on track and we can get right back to work. Also, there's a huge snowstorm here. Now, we need to go get one of these engines on the engine stand, probably the new one over there, and we need some bolts. These are the factory bell housing bolts. They don't fit on the engine stand, so we need to get quite a bit longer here. Let's see. This is about 1.5 inches. I need about I'd say a 2.5 inch bolt is what we need to get through the engine mount onto the back of the engine. So let's go grab some bolts at Atwood's, and I've got a ton of parts on order at O'Reilly's, basically every gasket that we need to swap all these parts. Hopefully after that, we can get all these parts moved over, and we should be ready to put the engine back in the cradle, especially now that the forklift works. All right, we're using old Siri to convert our inch to millimeter, millimeter to inch. I'm back. Obviously, I'm looking for like 3.3 inches, somewhere in there. 90 millimeters, 3.54. A little longer than I wanted, but I think it'll work. So we're gonna grab, I guess, 4 of these and a bunch of washers. And we'll stack washers up until it does work. So let's find some washers.
Yeah. Doggy.
All right, $4.71 later, we are ready to mount that engine up. And a quick O'Reilly's run to grab the rest of our parts for the swap. All right, we got water pump gaskets, valve cover gaskets, rear main seal, oil pan. We've got everything for the Corvette. So let's get back over there and get busy swapping all these parts over from the old engine to the new engine. Let's go. Time to unbox this engine here. A large unboxing, if you will. And most of it just involves getting these ratchet straps all freed up and cutting this thing out of here. Now, I did just notice this engine has their Patriot heads, of course. We did mention that before. These were originally $7.99 heads, it looks like. That's what the stamping is. And I want to save, obviously, if somebody ships me something with ratchet straps, I save them all. I don't know. I know a lot of people just cut them up, but I roll them back up and keep using them because why not? Free straps. Speaking of unboxings, if you like them, head on over to my new tech channel, Tech Throwback, where you can watch us unbox all kinds of products you probably haven't seen in years. Last one, went and got my gloves, so in case I have to catch this engine, I don't want to get in trouble here. So this should be it. What a great ratchet strap collection. And now, and it came with another valley cover. I mean, this thing, it's set up. You can see it's been leaking somewhere down low. It's tough to say exactly where. It looks like it's the oil pan. So luckily, I got a new oil pan gasket just now. If I had to guess, that's definitely where the leak is. And it's got NGK plugs in it. This thing was set up. All right, so here we've got our professionally built lifting solution for LS's. It does work really well. Looks like the valley cover is leaking a little bit on this. There's some oil coming up around there. Kind of weird that there's oil there. I don't know where that came from. It may have like fallen into there. Okay, put our lifting plate on here. Throw our bolts back in. And the one thing that's going to be tricky is we need to do the rear main on this. And the rear main requires this whole cover to come off the rear, and that cover has to have the oil pan off to do that. So it needs to be in the air the whole time we're putting all this together, but we can't put it on the engine stand because the engine stand, of course, would sit in the way of that. So I think we're gonna have to just hang this thing, let it swing, and once it sorts itself out, just run these down real quick, we'll be able to pull those 2 bottom bolts out of the pan and then pull off all the other tins holding on that rear cover and get this swapped out. So I'll show you what I'm talking about right here. This is that rear cover with the rear main in it on the LS. We've got a new gasket for this. You can see it may have been leaking, or maybe the car was a manual and this is clutch dust, which it kind of does look like. So I'm gonna hope it was a manual and this is just dirt from the trans, but that's obvious oil. Like that's nasty right there. So I'm gonna guess that it was leaking a bit here, or maybe just the oil pan seal like it seems to be on the rest of the engine. Either way, we've got that gasket, a new rear main, and a pan gasket. Those are really about the only things that could need replaced on this engine. And these are the 2 bolts I'm talking about. These are super long tins that are kind of always fun to get out of the way, but we might be able to get them. Nah, not today. Let's lift this thing up. All right, forklift, don't let me down today. Yeah, girl. Where do I need to be? Up, go up. Okay. I'm just gonna come in slow. I don't want to hit you.
I was gonna say, this looks like the beginning of the story of how he got stabbed.
Okay, that's probably good. Coming up.
Good.
Got your hands clear?
Yep, you're good. Keep going on.
Yeah, it's close to centered. You know what they say? Good enough for government work.
This is the weirdest pinata I've ever seen.
Hit it with a bat, bro. I promise you, this fights back. It'll hurt your hands real bad. So these are those 2 tins I was talking about that you can't really get out. Typically, it's always kind of a fight. This thing's definitely been resealed. There's RTV everywhere. But once these 2 come out, we can get this rear plate off here. So hopefully it won't come off with the impact on. Look at that, no problem at all. These are just weird bolts. I get why they did it. It pulls everything together, but at the same time, always weird bolts. So let's get this cover over to the solvent tank, cleaned up. We are ready to pop the cover. Just like so. There's like no seal there at all. You have to RTV that seal if there's no pan gasket. There's no pan gasket on this engine. That's why it leaks. All right, well, we solved the problem. We've got our rear main cover all cleaned up. We ran over to the smart washer real quick and cleaned up the cover and all the bolts. Now we get to pry out the rear main seal here. It won't come out.
We're gonna miss book hours on this. You gotta hurry.
It's actually trying to come out.
It is a little bit.
Yeah, you saw it move.
Need like 2 more screwdrivers.
Yeah, I know. 3 at a time. Yes, we are over here talking about how a lot of people just take a wood screw and drive it into the edge and it pops right out. And it does make sense that it can't hurt anything because the sealing surface is the outside and the inside there. But just, it's not the way I like to do it.
Scares me.
GM wasn't messing around. He gave you great places to.
Nice. Hup, hup, hup.
Oh,
Done.
I was like, what's going on? Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and wipe out the race first.
Yeah, these are dry install, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. So, looks great. All right, we can set up the engine stand finally. It's over there.
Hey, you got a pretty fancy Clark engine stand right here.
I know, it's a very configurable.
You know, we should actually weld up like an engine holding fixture.
People do that, and it's cool. That way you can just spin it around right on the forklift.
It'd be pretty great.
Yes, it would. the install tool gave up on us. It was like, nope. Just about there. We're getting there. Can you believe that this rear main steel set fits the LS7, the 7-liter, the 6.2, the 6.0, the 5.7, the 5.3, and the 4.8? This is like the only part, the BS 40640, for every single LS engine ever made, which is wild. So this thing only fits one way, which is just like that. The screw holes will line up one direction, and we're gonna go ahead and slide this thing onto the crank. I'll probably actually put a little dab of oil on there first, and then we'll start our bolts, and we will be ready to put all the other bolts in and get the engine stand out. We have our mating surface all cleaned up in here as well. This always seems like you can get it done in like 15 minutes, but why are we still here? It's taking too long. It's already been 15 minutes and we're still cleaning the first seal. So we'll go ahead and start this bolt, try to get our rear main installed, which is pretty much just like that. And now we can put all of our bolts in here. Yeah,
it's
the gasket
it's
kind of
a tight fit through the gasket.
Exactly.
Really wants to cross thread.
There we go. Put it on low. It's on high torque. Boom.
This thing's neat. I need one.
Yes, you do.
Just gonna go out of order to mess with people.
That's right. That's the that was the torque algorithm.
Here, just gonna go over here. The pattern is just kind of vibing it.
Vibing. And we are finally ready to go hang this engine up properly. So it's always fun to do an LS because they sit like very oddly. They make custom plates just for doing this on the LS, which are much better than these old school universal ones. It all works out better if you have the plate that's made just for this engine. But any second now, we should have this thing ready to go. We spent all that just so we could do this simple one thing. One simple thing.
This thing does not want to play nice.
It's not a roller. All right, so that's
I'm gonna make you bring it to me.
Oh, I'm going to. The only thing is, yeah, perfect. You're real violent with that for how sketchy it might get. So we don't need too many things off of the old engine. We're gonna take the water pump, which is the entire front of the engine for the most part. The one clamp that's still on here that holds on the transmission cooler lines, and we're gonna double nut this stud for the AC compressor, and that should let us create a little jam nut here and back this thing off. So first off, we've got our, I thought I had the right sizes for everything. Oh, I did. This thing came right out. I didn't even have to try. It also does have its own hex, like index on the end of it. Is it bent? It seems a little like it's a wave in there.
A little warped?
Look,
oh yeah, I can see it.
Just a little wavy there. Anyway, it's not hurting anything. The AC compressor was fine, but we've got that ready. Let's get it moved over to the new heads. We've got the stud driven back into the new head. Get this taken back off, and we should be ready to go wash this thing up. Now the issue is, it is well below freezing today. We're still in the big snowstorm, and I've since found out that this thing has to get washed up, since we found out there's clearly no oil pan gasket in there at all. So since there's oil running all the way around this thing, I really have to get it outside tomorrow, wash it, scrub it down, and then we can finish reassembling the last few things. This should have been done today, but I'm kind of stuck now since I need to wash it, and we can't really do that without going outside. We're gonna have to take both engines out there because they both need cleaned up a little bit, and pulling the water pump off. It's still gonna send coolant and water all over me, so it's better to do that outside than in the shop where it'll be a pain to clean up. So I think that's kind of where I'm stuck for today, but huge progress. All that's left is the pan gasket and the water pump gaskets. That's it, right? I bought valve cover gaskets, but obviously that's just a given, just so we can get them done. So I will say, I'll go ahead and pull off the valve covers and get those in the solvent tank so that we're ahead of the game there, and we've got nice fresh ones with the grommets on them and everything like that. ready to go for tomorrow. It looks like this thing has aftermarket valve springs. Oh, it's got double springs in it. And these retainers looked aftermarket too. Like, we don't know what's actually in this, but I'm getting more and more excited about how built this engine is as we go. So the double springs are sweet. We can turn some RPM. It's super clean inside, ARP studded. I mean, the studs are already just something I get super pumped up about. So well done, so well done. So I'm just getting excited. Let's get these valve covers cleaned up. We'll get them back on the engine with the new gaskets, and we'll wash down the bottom of the engine tomorrow, give it a good brushing off. This thing's gonna rock. You guys have seen how to do this before. This is the grommets on the valve covers. So you just cut them off with wire cutters because it's the easiest thing to do. And just kind of move through them all, and then the new ones slide on really easily with just a dab of oil on the shaft there. It lets you just pull them right over. So we've got the valve covers basically cleaned up and ready to re-gasket them. Just let the solvent kind of run on it for a little bit. It'll do all the cleaning by itself for the most part. Also, I've said before, this is CRC's smart washer. This is not solvent. You can get this on your hands. So sometimes I use it without gloves. I don't worry about it at all because it's skin safe. It's not actually solvent. It's like a citrus bio cleaner with microbes in it, and it's kept at 70 degrees. It's actually closer to like 80. You can see it's steaming right now all the time to keep the microbes alive. All right, we've got our valve covers all cleaned up. The bolts are ready to be put back in with brand new grommets. Those are looking good. Over here, the engine is ready to get washed up tomorrow. First, I need to go buy some gunk heavy duty or some gunk gel. I like the gel because it kind of sits on there for a little bit. So we'll spray everything down after we plug the few remaining open holes and get this thing scrubbed up. Valve covers will be back on it then, and we will be ready to get this thing into the cradle with the new water pump on there as well. So it'll be a good time to flush out the water jackets while we're out there. It just ended up taking a little bit more time than we expected. Of course, like we said, we've got these awesome Patriot heads I'm pumped about. Some cam that's supposed to be nasty. We don't know what it is. ARP studded, a Summit balancer on it. I just keep getting more excited about this engine the farther we go. And of course, the one knock sensor we pulled out did not break. Somebody commented about the knock sensors breaking last time. I was like, no, it didn't. You just have to take your time and be very careful squeezing those with needle nose and then like wiggling them. If you just go after them, yeah, they break. No doubt about it. So this thing's about good to go. Tomorrow we'll be much closer, hopefully have it in the cradle and be ready to put it back in the car. That is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Huge thanks to 100% Jake coming over and helping. Darrell, of course, and don't forget to head on over to shop.watchjrgo.com for cool shirts, not like this. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, and I will talk to you next time. The real story tomorrow is I'm going to clean all of the tools up, because right now, like, every tool in the toolbox is spread around from like 4 projects we're doing at the same time. So I'm going to take some time, use a little microfiber and brake clean up the tools, get the toolbox over here, and that should help immensely as we get back towards getting this thing in the car. And we'll get our new hooker headers on too. So we'll be real close tomorrow. Pumped about that. Before we forget, this should be our new intake. Let's take a look at that. I have not seen the intake, but as long as it has the same old Corvette throttle body in it. Wow, this thing is packaged. Packaged. Packages on packages. Oh, look at that, it's got injectors and a fuel system and an odometer, fuel pressure sensor, and still gasoline in it too. What a bonus. Wow. I don't know what those injectors are, but I intend to find out. And we will be ready to